Like a Tuesday, and this is Trekland HQ, and we are live. We certainly are. Two lessons from hashtag Star Trek Day 2023, and an unboxing. Yes, today on Trekland Tuesdays live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemeczek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 and via Trekland Treks. Yeah, for some clarity, sanity, and the big picture in all things Star Trek. And a happy Tuesday to everyone. My goodness, how we're coming up on 7 years of doing this. Well, 6.5 anyway. Been here a while, and the landscape just keeps evolving, doesn't it? Hope everybody is having a great Tuesday. Glad you're back with us. Hey, if you're with us for the first time, let me warn you. This is a great chat community we have at TTL. You want to jump in the chat. If you're new to us, just introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from. I'm not going to get to the chat at first. I'm going to get off on a tangent here, or a soapbox, a theme. This title, as we say, or maybe it's below you. If you're here with us live, you're great because you're here with the chat. You can interact with everybody and hopefully interact with me a little bit later on. Just a reminder that, yes, we still go to 3 channels. So Facebook, though, is only going to see the chat from Facebook. If you're Twitch or YouTube, you're seeing everything. And of course, if you're on YouTube, you're going to get the biggest experience. That's where we'll archive this later and in edited form. And most of all, right now, if you appreciate Dr. Trek's spin on things and the Trekland point of view, it's not the same you find everywhere else. You can jump in and give us a super chat. I really appreciate it. Of course, this is some topic for this week, right? Did you have a good Star Trek day? Did it feel a little? I mean, this was my topic last week, but it was on the front end of Star Trek Day because it's been a Star Trek Day like no other. On Friday the 8th, of course, it's the anniversary of the opening of the premiere, the very first premiere of Star Trek back in the day. If you're going to have a birthday for a whole franchise, you mark it to the first time. You could argue, look, for all the folks that say, well, it should start with those 2 days earlier that we forget about in Canada. I don't know. What about marking it from the filming or the writing of The Cage back in 64? See, it's problematic. We just settle on a day and go with it. And it's the one day that means the most to the most people. This year it was Friday, but this year was a year like no other since the studio kind of ginned up making it a day beyond just which the cool kids know to look at each other and say, Happy Star Trek anniversary. But then that's what social media does, right? It gins everything up for good and for bad. But no, this was a studio concept to make it a marketing day. And that's cool. That's cool. First Contact Day, nobody else can claim that but Star Trek. And so, yeah. We've got 2 good ones. Maybe another one if Fleet Day takes off, Pioneer Day, whatever it was. We just need to agree on the day, I think. No, Star Trek Day, big thing. But trouble, since they began it, they only had 2 or 3 years out of the slot to build it up. And then we had pandemic, and then we had virtual events taking over, and then live, and then hybrids. And this year, it's the strike. So that's what was interesting. And that was our topic last week. If you didn't catch us last week, go back. It's up there now. Why this Star Trek Day was unlike any other in history, such as it is. But now we're on the other end of Star Trek Day. And two things were interesting. Number one, as much as I'm sure the corporate marketeers wish there hadn't been a strike going, because it interfered with, well, we'd have shows happening and filming right now too. But just as far as the narrow window of Star Trek Day, we'd have a lot more going. We'd probably have virtual panel. We didn't have a live show. If you take away the actors and then you take away the showrunners and the writers, you take away all that, you don't have much left to have as an entertainment property. Thank God this turned out to be the 50th anniversary of the animated series. Cool. Totally worth celebrating as an anniversary. Thank goodness that the animated series per se weren't wrapped up in being covered by the SAG-AFTRA strike and by the WGA strike, the Writers Guild strike. Now, number one, it should have been, because the writers especially don't deserve to have second-class deals and options, especially now in this golden age of animation. It should have been, but it wasn't. So, okay, you fell through the crack. That was a doable thing. And it really allowed us at least to have that special celebration for the 50th. Even though I know, all the hoopla on the side about, are we marking, which arm of Paramount Global is marking it? If it's legal or if it's streaming, no mention of Prodigy. If it's the marketing, if it's the license and branding decide, sure, Prodigy's in there. Prodigy's on the big picture. We're all hoping for it helped focus the spotlight on all these issues. But what really happened, because it was not, and this is lesson one from Star Trek Day. This is the one I was expecting-ish, because the strikes were happening, and because that forced a slimmed down version of what they could offer, what the could offer. It, for one thing, led to those live events for the Lower Decks premiere. So yay, that was and a lot of people that went to it was a great experience. It's a great experience to get back with fans still post-pandemic, and to have it be for Lower Decks is a treat. And all the tchotchkes and the freebies and people reporting in. I heard from Jesse Gender about the San Diego site, and everybody kind of made up and made their own little Prodigy protest, not taking away from Lower Decks at all, but just made sure that #Save Star Trek Prodigy was in the zeitgeist out there. So it was cool. That was an event. Yay. But obviously, what they could put on, and showing Strange New Worlds on terrestrial CBS, I meant to look at the ratings to see if there was any blip at all for them. But those were how you backfill the holes left by not being able to use live people. Your stars, and the people were already trying to get on stage, the writers, showrunners at least. Now, what was interesting was the coverage. I want to say I saw more mainstream coverage on the websites, on newspapers especially, and some local stations. Channel 7 had the ABC affiliate in LA for one reason. See more local coverage of Star Trek Day, which is good for the franchise. It's good for the fan base. It's good to bring people in. But most of all, it got coverage because of the strikes. Those pickets, the Star Trek Day special picket, the space franchise show being struck, because it's not the show, it's the studio. Nobody has a thing against well, we can critique the series, but it's the studio and the show. And if not for the actions of those like Michelle Hurd, the cast within would all be the fly-by-cat, willing casualties, willing to do this for a cause, but still in the big picture, letting a Star Trek Day go by. No, there was more attention paid to Star Trek Day this year, and I think it's because of the strikes and the pickets. Well, if, God forbid, the strike be done in a year and we go back to a normal Star Trek Day, will there be as much ink and paper and digital ink and video framage spent on this? I don't know. And the fact that at first there wasn't to be a New York picket there in Broadway or in Manhattan at the Paramount building, the current Paramount building. But those doing the SAG-AFTRA local election hadn't intended to do one. Folks from Writers Guild stepped up. I don't know. I saw Akiva out there. Maybe, I don't know. But there was a coordinated picket in New York. So yay, both coasts, 2.5 hours, both places. But it grabbed the news. And when you put the star power faces out there, George and Jerry, and go down the line, I know that's what draws the cameras. And at least this time, as unlike May, the actors were on strike and they weren't just sympathetic in solidarity. And there's nothing wrong with solidarity. Yay, Star Trek. Star Trek Strike Snack Squad came up with the buttons as well as a special array of food. You can read all about that too. Claire was on with us, last week. But yeah, the strikes brought more attention to Star Trek Day than the planned Star Trek events and activities. Now, you could say there would have been more activity had there not been a strike, but the way it worked out, it may have been the most coverage. I don't know. What do you all think? Do you feel like it feels like, even knowing that I'm sensitive to it because I'm watching for it, even knowing that I'm turned on to it, it felt like there was more coverage online as well as with local stations, local coverage, YouTube clips from local stations, packages feed that even local news stations could run if they were far from New York or LA, the SoCal area. So that was one lesson. It was like, I don't know, maybe those studio network promotion marketeers ought to be grateful in a weird way for the strikes this year. It got more attention to the franchise. And you know what? In the long run, yes, it's a strike. Yes, you don't want to favor the studio too much, even as you support actors and writers and Gene's vision, of course, all the way down the line. But that was something that occurred to me later. I think this was the most covered Star Trek day ever. I mean, it's a fluff piece normally, but this year it's tied into something really relevant. And good on everybody. Good on John Billingsley and Jonathan Del Arco with Michelle Hurd in tow for having the idea and coming back. I've been hoping, as I said, to have a second round of a Star Trek theme picket, as the writers had done in May, almost as an homage echo of the first go round for socially, accessible on social media, the baby days of social media with the 07-08 strike, when Star Trek's picket day was one of 3 or 4 that year, and probably the most pronounced franchise, not theme, like the horror writers got together and had a theme picket that day. All I'm saying is it was a big thing. And in hindsight, I'll just say that I knew it would be different than the May, because the turnout would probably 3 or 4 times. Fans were actively solicited for this. I've said this once or twice, other platforms. The fans were solicited for this, unlike before when there was some concern about it being an overflow and not wanting to have it be a convention atmosphere. Well, you know what? It's been 3-4 months now. Everybody is tuned into the issues. People get it. We see the strikers. We watch the social media. I hope you were following your Star Trek folks. Carlos Cisco, Bill Wolkoff, well, Jerry, obviously, and Michelle Hurd. All kinds of folks up and down the line, writers. And people are savvy, people are educated, not just us, but a lot of mainstream America. They get the issues. They see even how far from the old elitist Hollywood thing, which has been blown wide open, when 3/4 of the writers can't qualify for, or actors can't qualify for their health insurance, which has always been an issue, and that there's issues below that of why that is too. But mainstream America, Main Street America, gets the issue and even sees it reflected back in the industries around them. Now we're about to have the auto workers. The UPS strike happened, and they settled and got back up to what they should have been. If there's such necessary workers, what was the term during the pandemic? Essential workers. If they're so essential workers, why don't we, and the country depends on them to function, especially business, why aren't they getting paid more? And that was a case of, it was the part-timers not getting gigged to death. No, it's not just the vibe out of the strike has worked. And the producers, the AMPTP, hiring one crisis PR firm after another to try to deflect this and dent that. And at the very least cause dissension. If they can't win the general public, they're going to try to cause dissent. It looks like the producers are already divided between the old school folks who came up with entertainment, the old brick and mortar studios, and all the high tech folk who are totally, where, as someone the other day was mentioning, the entertainment division is just one sliver of the whole company, and they could care less. It's a nuisance. It's a fly buzzing. So we'll see where that goes. All I'm saying is, one of the lessons I learned here was that it wasn't their playbook, but the marketers are going to have to admit that this year's Star Trek Day got far more attention than it normally does. Not that I want to strike every year to accomplish that. Heavens no. There's people really hurting. And once again, I'm going to urge you, if you have some spare coinage, to each of the 2 unions at strike right now has SAG-AFTRA has their foundation. Writers Guild is supporting the Entertainment Community Fund to help those in need trying to stretch by. There's the Grocer's Green Envelope Fund to get fresh food to not just actors and writers, but the entire industry, the support staff, the assistants, people on crew, the IATSE members from whatever, whether it's the art side of things, the stage crew side of things, and all that detail, the makeup, hairdressers, I mean, up in the wardrobe people, I mean, up and down the line, people are hurting. And the Teamsters too. And the Teamsters keep honoring these strikes. That's one thing I took away, but here's the other thing. Totally sidebar. I wasn't expecting this. So, yeah, a very short trek premiered. Didn't exactly, the advance press on it was a little vague. You got the idea if you looked at people involved. Kind of the news coming in advance was that so many actors were voicing characters, were voicing their characters. It's yeah. It was funny, though. Funny to watch, and the anticipation and all that. And seeing some of those advanced stills, you know, the screw head and the butt head, wondering what the hell was up with that, because the animation was done just fine. It turns out that now we have a whole debate about the fact that we're daring to put Star Trek on something and it's not canon. Now, look, you're talking to somebody who was there before we had the word canon. We just talked about continuity. You're talking about somebody who's been retconning before we had retconning. That's why I called it gap filling and canon, well, canon smoothing now. Smoothing and gap filling. Gap filling isn't about errors or inconsistency. It's about the gaps. Been doing this, kid, since my first blush with Star Trek. That's one of the things that attracted me to it, was keeping track of all this stuff. This needs to be organized. And it's why I did the concordance. It's why I worked on my original star charts. It's why I wound up getting to do the TNG companion and yada, yada. And then the companion world to that is the making of, the behind the scenes. One's in universe, one's not, but you're getting at the same issues. No, folks, when I finally saw Skin a Cat, there's actually a sidebar to this, but primarily people are losing their shorts because it's silly. Yeah. Basically, very short Trek is going to be an animated Saturday Night Live sketch. It's going to basically be, forget calling Lower Decks the Adult Swim of Star Trek. Very Short Treks is the Adult Swim of Star Trek. Or again, it's like an animated sketch for Saturday Night Live. How many parodies of Star Trek and Next Generation has Saturday Night Live produced? With guest stars, with different folks playing the original cast. My God, Jim Belushi's Kirk. So that's all it is. It's got a name, very short Treks. We've seen the one. There are 5 more to come. It's cool that the actors got to do the animation, whether or not it was fine strike-wise, before or after the actual strike. It's clear. Jerry O'Connell did his live hosting the special, by the way, ahead of strike time. And yes, that's how far ahead they work. It's only been three months. Hey, it's corporate timetables, gang. This stuff is worked on way ahead of time. Because, you know, what else could it be but just in a vacuum? What's going to change in 3, 4, 5 months? No, I was really eye-rolly at seeing the reaction. Now, if you didn't know what to expect, and maybe it's not your style of humor, that's fine. That's fine. It harks back to the trouble with Edward. In fact, including the DNA. No, if you looked at the DNA of things, you would have got it that Casper Kelly, Too Many Crooks. All right. It's bold, silly. The stars, the actors, I'm sure had a hoot doing it. But no, it's like the Tribbles cereal commercial, even outdoing the trouble with Edward at the end of that. And he was involved with that too. So no, you don't have to think. Look, gang, this is marketing. I'm not concerned about this messing up canon because it's not canon. It's parody. This doesn't mess with canon any more than a Saturday Night Live Star Trek sketch. It's in this. It's just now the home studio is making it, not depending on outside groups, right? There's no Second City going on here. There's no improv comedy. There's no Lorne Michaels. This is the home folks overseeing it. And kudos. Of all the things people have criticized Alex Kurtzman over the years, and I think the list is going down as time goes by, this shouldn't be one of them. Look, the bottom line is this is going to get eyeballs. I hope it does. This is going to get fresh eyeballs from all the folks who thought that Star Trek, I don't know, the Gen Zers who thought that it was not too cool for school. This is for everybody who gave up on it along the way. This is for folks who have no clue to Star Trek and it's woke. I mean, whatever. These are wacky. At least I hope they're all wacky. I hope they're all in the same vein. It looks like they will be. But this uproar about they're not canon, that's not the point. The point is to get more people to watch Star Trek. And look, right now, when there's nothing new being made, when this run of Lower Decks is gone, it's gone until they decide to show the Discovery being held back in a can sometime next spring. The strike is going to delay all this. And you know what? What better alternate? If people are actually sucked in and intrigued by watching one of these, they have to get it that it's parody. They have to get it that it's a little satire, that it's a poke. But what's the best adjacent show right now to be showing? Not the Elysian Kingdom. No, Lower Decks is on. So if you're an anime intrigue, if you're anime curious, then it's adjacent. It's right there. Bang. So it's great timing. But leave it to Star Trek fans to get all blown up over the fact that this wasn't canon. It's not the point. It's not the point. If Saturday Night Live was on CBS and they did a sketch, did a parody, are people going to yell that it's the home of Star Trek and they shouldn't be allowed to do that? What? No. Kids, the fact that there are parody sketches on SNL and other places means that it's culturally relevant and relevant. It's pop culturally relevant. Remember, I'm sorry, 10, 12 years ago, you said Star Trek, you were a tight little community. You said Star Trek at San Diego Comic-Con, you might see 6 people cosplaying Trek. Probably girls in red miniskirt Uhura dresses. I mean, that was probably about as much as you could get. It was like a throwback to 19. I'm just saying, we've come a long way in bringing it back. Things like this are what not only are helpful to bring people in, but they're also a barometer to show where we are. And Star Trek is back, baby. Even as Star Wars and Marvel and DC and Harry Potter, even as all of the other franchises of the last decade wobble, Star Trek is actually surging here a little bit. Not that it's a race, not that it's a contest. I'm just saying. Every year, the last 2 or 3 years, having this much Star Trek out there for somebody to enjoy some part of it is leading to an increased awareness, exposure, appearance, visibility of Star Trek out there. And Very Short Treks is just piling on to that. Oh, get over yourselves, people. It is what it is. I'm not going to do a concordance for Very Short Treks. For one thing, there are going to be disjointed stories, just like the regular Short Treks. This is a perfect format for it. This is hysterical. I might write a guidebook. But no, not an encyclopedia, not a concordance. It's not canon, but it exists. It exists just as much as any of the made behind the scenes aspects of Star Trek, the sidebars do. So the 2 things I learned from Star Trek Day this year were, boy, you better be glad for that strike this year in the big picture. And for bringing, with an awareness on the meta level. Both of these, I should have said 2 meta lessons I learned. One, you want to get out to more people. You want to expand the fan base. If you're going to have a strike, lead with it. And number 2, you should be pumping these out. Very short. Well, not too many. Too many, you lose the flavor, the specialists, I know. It'd be like being able to watch The Wizard of Oz anytime, not just once a year. No. something like very short treks is exactly what we need to break the snooty poo barrier and keep expanding the fan base. All right, what do you think? Did I pump up? Did I get you rolling? Hey, I'm going to look at the chat here in just a minute. But first, we'll take a mini break in just a minute, okay? I will be saying bye-bye to the folks watching us later on YouTube, but you live folks stick by, okay? But hey, if you're watching me later on YouTube, why can't you come by? Find some time on a Tuesday to come by and watch us live. I do this in the afternoon so the global folks can see it. So yeah, if you're on other continents, you can still get yourself here at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern, 9 European UK time, and 10 Central Europe. But no, it's before you go, yikes, I almost do this. I did promise you a part 2 today. We have a small tag for today's show. Not that small. Guess what? We have an unboxing to do. I know this is not the way you normally unbox it, but mine was a little slow arriving, but we fixed that. I know some of you who are keeping up with things know what's going on here. This is, yes, ta-da, it's the season 3 Blu-ray, DVD, and Steelbook for Picard season 3. And yeah, if ever there was a season of Star Trek, if ever there's a title that you videophiles, that you discophiles wanted to get in on, it would be Star Trek season 3. The Venn diagram for who's buying this. It's going to be the audience. But no, it's amazing. Look, as you say right here, certified, okay, Rotten Tomatoes fresh. 2.5 hours of special bonus features, of course. Yeah, you've got comment. There's deleted scenes. There's already been a little kerfluffle about a little 3-5 second flyby to finish off, to finish things off with. It's thrilling and a hell of a ride. I don't know. Do you really have to pet? Of course, the gag reel is already out on YouTube. I don't know about that. That's kind of wacky. Now this is the DVD. I mean, this is the Blu-ray. So the Steelbook has the black cover. Very cool. There was criticism of some of the promotional artwork not having Shaw, which I get it. In fact, we got asked that the other day. Why isn't Shaw in the promotional artwork? These things are done, again, months in advance. I don't know if people didn't see Todd Stashwick's character take off the way it did. It was a pleasant surprise. But anyway, that's now the basically the general qualities there. The audio is mixed. It sounds good. It looks good. The commentaries, here's what you get. The Next Generation, the original first episode is Frakes, Jerry Ryan, Todd, Ed Spaliers, Terry himself, and the composer, Steve Barton, are there. My gosh, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 episodes. Half the season has commentary with it, which is great. Gates, Michelle, and Terry on 17 Seconds. No End Scenario, Jonathan, Todd, and Terry. The Bounty at the Fleet Museum, Jonathan, LeVar, Brent, and Terry. And Last Generation, you know what? They've got all actors. Now and Terry. That's fine. But yes, there is a bonus feature here about rebuilding the Enterprise D. It's Alex and it's Terry. They've got Dave Blass and Liz Kosklowski and Todd, all of whom we've been thrilled to have on Portal 47. A lot of you have seen them at conventions. If you were at Vegas, you got to see them. Preserved, I'm so happy for them and their work to be preserved forever, at least on this DVD, the mass distribution of this. There's a lot of writers and producers and directors and crew interviewed for the making of the season. There's the blooper reel, the gag reel, as we say now. The industry word took out over the fan word. There's the panel that my friend Scott hosted in LA at the For Your Consideration that they've got on here also. A whole bit about Amanda Plummer and Vatican Terry writing her villainous Vatic. And then just the whole thing about the reunion of the original cast and all of that. There's a few deleted scenes. Well, several, I guess, half dozen or more here. Um, you know what? The CBS Blu-rays, the Paramount Global Blu-rays have been pretty consistent, especially in recent years. This one is more about the content than it is about the features itself. And what more can we say of all the recent years to get people excited and generate a hashtag campaign for a whole new series? Okay, well, we're doing it again. This is it. So, hey, thanks, Paramount. Thanks, CBS. They're still out there. It's selling really well. I haven't checked the numbers lately, but it's there. And as we have seen, looking at you, Prodigy, with sad eyes, but people have been shaken lately about what they always feel like they're going to have access to. Even things like bonus features, if you think it's out there, it was in the ready room, it was wherever, that was studio produced, might not always be there. So if ever there was a time to overlap your basic, I should have physical media, and oh, this is the season I would want, this is the season you would want. All right. It's been out for a few days now, since the 5th. It's been out for a week, but no time like the present, if you have not made up your mind. All right. I can't wait there's a couple of things I specifically want to get to, and I know the rest of the world has had it for a week, but there's all kinds of folks. There are folks who put off seeing Nemesis the first weekend, and then it was gone the next weekend. It was perceived of as a bomb and yanked with a competitive slate back in 2002. So you look at the box office for Nemesis, and I know I've totally changed gears on you here, but this is my point. It's not about, the early bird gets the worm. It's just that there will always be middle of the morning birds, and there will be afternoon birds, and there will be midnight shift birds. So it's never too late to get your copy. Just make sure that you've got one, so that at some point something wacky happens and your favorite seasons, including this one, suddenly aren't as accessible as they used to be because of some future wacko tech Wall Street thing. Tax break. Yeah. Get it now. All right. That's what I wanted to say. Because if there was ever a season to have on disc, it would be this season, as many people have been proclaiming all along. And you know what? If there was ever a time now that the days are not quite as boiling hot to visit LA and maybe get in your own away team, TreklandTreks.com. You know what's happening. I'll work with you. You have your favorite scenes. Maybe you've been to Vasquez Rocks. Maybe you want to get to one of the other 50 places around LA that you can do and re-experience Star Trek for yourself. Your very own away mission. Well, get with me. We'll work it out when you come to LA. I can't wait. Can't wait. TreklandTreks.com. And of course, our live wires. Can't forget you guys. Thank you so much. Diana Hopkins, Lawrence Todd, Justin Porteous, Chris Jiggins, Comedy Forecast, Robin Wilson, Anne-Marie Siegel, Galinda Bruton, Pranakasha Productions, and Andrew Jazimski. Thank you so much for being a TTLer. And our live wires, boom, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Hubbard Gunn Johnson, Alan Howensi, Dave Gregory, Tobias Rex, Donna S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. We're getting on, we're midway through the month. This is collected once a month. I want to thank all of you. We've gradually been expanding what we're doing here and what the scope of everything online Trekland is. If you hadn't noticed, you want to go over and like and subscribe here on YouTube for sure. Meanwhile, you can check out the Patreon. Mine, I keep it simple. Some folks is more extensive. Some folks, a lot more of their income comes from Patreon. I'm trying to keep this simple to broaden the base. There you go, $5 or $10. The $10 folks get the shout out plus access to earlier behind the scenes interviews from the earlier years of Portal 47. We're going to be starting our 8th year. The open house is coming soon. That's open to the entire world. We always have a notable Trek person. You want to stay tuned for when we announce the date and then our guest for that. sometime in the next couple of months. Meanwhile, here, patreon.com/Trekland Live is the place where you can jump in, and you can throw in more if you want to, but I'm keeping it simple just so more can take part. I appreciate all of that. And yes, we are still on hiatus. We just started our hiatus. So we're taking a break on the Trek Files, but there are 10 seasons up there, 10 times 24, 240 episodes now of the Trek File. And it's all right there. Facebook is where the files are too, but you can find it wherever good podcasts are sold or captured, I should say. And podcast.roddenberry.com is where all the Roddenberry family of podcasts are. There is a new one. There's a new one up, Genealogy, looking at we've done this a little bit on the Trek Files, but Norm and Earl are going to dive into other Gene Roddenberry projects, some of them you've never heard of, pilots and scripts, and some of the scripts he won, including, what he wrote for Have Gun Will Travel. They found a historical artifact that no one really knew existed. Gene had a series. He had a series before The Lieutenant. It was forgotten in the files because it was videotaped. The tapes were wiped, but they found the receipts. They found the script and the writer's guide. Wrangler. Yes, it is. Check it out. That is Genealogy. That's another Roddenberry podcast. Or, of course, you can go back and find a Trek File that you missed. Hey, everybody, I'm here. Don't leave us if you're going to be live. But if you're leaving us right now, I'm here on Trekland. Larry Nemechek at Twitter. Larry Nemechek's Trekland here on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. Same thing on Instagram, and same thing on Facebook too. Instagram is a lot of fun, I'll just say too. Portal47.net is how you can join us all year long. No need for the post-con blues. Wherever you live, wherever you are in this world, we've got global members. And actually, tomorrow is European and Midday America's Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable Day in the portal. So all the portales, I love getting the global view. That's what I help bring here to you. And of course, a lot of you are in the chat today, and we're going to get there in just a second. So if you're leaving me now, if you're watching us later on YouTube, try to join us live once again. And if you are leaving us, it's been good to spend this time with you. I'll just say, hey, take care of yourself. Stay healthy, do all the things. Stay woke, check your sources in all the ways. And Trek well. I need this. I need some more. All righty. The thing is, I'm going to make it simple and sweet this week, looking at the parrots. I've had some people talk to me on YouTube about why do we keep messing with the parrot analytics. It's amazing to me, and maybe this will be a full-time topic. It's amazing to me that, and I mentioned this before, but maybe it deserves a deep dive, that what we saw as frivolous is exactly what's one of the core reasons for this strike, is this transparency. And the fact that it was just a privilege that for 50, 60 years since the dawn of TV, since radio, the Crossley service was the Nielsen's of old-time network radio. Through the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, there were radio ratings because they wanted to know who was popular. And some of the shows were sponsored, right? Like Fibbing and Molly was the Chase and Sanborn Hour. And so many years, Jack Benny had Jell-O, right? Carnation Milk was Burns and Allen. I mean, like, you can look at that, right? But there were incidental commercials too. And ad rates had to be set. And the whole reason we had that transparency in the DNA of broadcasting, whether it was radio or TV, was the old good capitalistic idea of commercials and having it be a level playing field, and nobody thought twice about it. It took the streaming revolution. Started with probably the cable numbers, because nobody needed to know cable subscribers, right? That was bragging rights. Oh no, we're the most with it. But it took the streamers to go, knowledge is power. information is power. Keep it close to the vest. And this whole thing about the curiosity of not knowing the various exact popularity rankings of streaming shows, turns out all this time, has been a life or death issue for the people who are supposedly getting paid. And not a radical new technology anymore. It's not new media. They called it new media in 2007. It's been 15, 16 years now. People have watched the people work in the industry, not just writers and actors, have watched their paychecks dive. They're working just as hard. They're putting in just as many hours or more because they're being taken advantage of, because it's new media. And, oh, we have to get this. Well, the time for it being new is over. And that's what's at the core of this. AI grabs the headlines, as it should. But there's two twin issues going on here. Even between actors and writers, there's different other things too, the writing size room, all of that. But the core issue here is it's not just audiences about numbers. It's the people getting paid or not for the shows. So that's an issue that's going to have to sort it. So that's the existential thing. Even before AI. Unless it's a 1-2 punch, if they don't want to let the numbers out because they're eventually not going to be using humans anyway. So why would we need that? What, the robots are going to revolt? Ooh. There's just some sci-fi for the future. No. So, really? So, the parrots will take a look in just a second. All right. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the chat, and we'll see who's here, what's going on with everybody. I'm just curious if more people feel like they're going to buy a Picard season 3 disc, more so than they would have. Well, I know more will than have season 1 and 2, just by the source material. I just think it's wow. Okay, I'm diving into chat here now. We're going to get back to parrots in a second. Hey, I see a new face and a new name. Hello, Stephen. Hello from Belfast. Glad to have you with us. Yay. I'm just curious how you found your way here. But glad to have, hope you enjoyed that. I didn't bore you to tears. Let's see. And Tigger, I can't say. I know the wonderful thing about Tiggers is you're the only one. Tigger Trekker, hi. Do I know you by another moniker that I can actually pronounce or not? But good to see you there on YouTube. Yay, yay. And again, guys, as I dive into the chat, if you super chat me, throw in some coinage, I will make sure and make a priority out of your question when I get it and catch up to it. But thank you guys, new folks coming in. Thank you. That's what I just have this image. Frontier Day is Frontier City. It's the frontier. It's the stupid, buckskin. Yeah. That and starships just doesn't go together. I have stumbled over this since day one. And of course, space, the final frontier, you would think. Come on, Larry, grow it up. It ain't Daniel Boone. Frontier Day, Frontier Day, Frontier Day. What was the name of the all Vulcan baseball team? Hey, Sean. A changeling test on me. Why, it was the Shakar Satanics, of course. Oh, this is interesting, Sean. Prodigy merch is still available. Wait, there is Prodigy merch? It exists? Oh, I know. Besides not all the action figures, they've still got it on the. Well, see, this is what I mean. Don't bash all of Paramount Global. Paramount Plus streamers are the ones that made the tax break decision in tandem with 4 other series. They're so stupid and short-sighted. I love it when one hand of the 15 hands does something and has no idea that what they just did affects other arms. But that's how big the thing is now. And that's how there's been so much turnover. And then you layer the pandemic on top of that. And then some more turnover after that. No, they didn't realize that there was a fan base that would like vilify them for it and actually maybe even protest and cancel subscriptions over it and then just go buy discs. I mean, that's what Star Trek has, that kind of a fan base. They didn't see that coming, that of the 4 shows they took down, erased for tax purposes, it wasn't just the cancellation. It was the erasure that's really, really pissed people off. So yeah, exactly. They're selling it in there. But the rest of the franchise, you've heard the Hagemans, you've heard Aaron say, they fully intend to be, and maybe even Alex has said this, they'll still be coordinating canon and timelines and stories. And hey, we want to use Wesley, or we want to use Janeway, or we want to use Cisco. No, we're going to do that as a legacy character. We're going to do a neutral zone arc. We're going to do this. So they're still going to be in contact. They will still be part of they'll still be produced in part by Secret Hideout. So it's not a blanket. And of course, Secret Hideout's a different company, but they'll have contracts that will be in some versions. Paramount TV Studios, CBS TV Studios, CBS Animation will still be involved in making, well, no, it's Titmouse. And you know what I'm saying, though? There will still be many, many tentacles involved. It's just the Paramount Plus streaming and the marketers associated with Paramount Plus streaming. Merchandise and branding and licensing will still be a thing. And StarTrek.com licenses and vends out the Star Trek store. And StarTrek.com is part of licensing and branding and social media and promotion. So as wacky as that sounds, that's the reality. The only people who have unmentioned Prodigy is Paramount Plus streaming. And if it's a special that's going to air on Paramount Plus streaming, that's a thing. If it's artwork promotionally being made that's not coming out of streaming, then maybe those Prodigy characters will turn up on it, as we saw. I know. Moopsie remind you of Nibbler from Futurama. Hey, here's the thing. I could have done a whole show today on the Moopsie revolution. The Moopsie, it's Moopsie Mania. I think, did I just do that one? Hashtag Moopsie Mania. But I'll be damned if we get Moopsie stuff before we flesh out the Murph stuff. I'm just saying. I don't want the guy to be overridden. But now we've got Tribbles and Murphs and Moopsies. Oh my. Hi, Analysis. You're confused. Skin a Cat short is So C-Lab 2021. Star Trek is not Adult Swim. No, Star Trek isn't Adult Swim. But very short Treks is. Do you see here? No one's forcing the very short Treks to be crammed into the canon box. It shouldn't be. It is. It's got its own little package over here. And not everybody will want to open the package. But we've had 10, 15 years of Star Trek memes. We've had 10, 15 years of parodies, and we've had 50 years of parody. It's just the home team getting in on some of the goodies in that vein. That's all it is. You don't have to. I will not count it as canon. That's ridiculous. It's ribald. It's a Captain Kirk who's imagining. People are not popping up. I mean, the closest in real canon would come to this would be the madness of, say, the Thaw. But that's not what this is about. The trouble with Edward came very, 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 very close, and it disturbed me. I'm still not sure if I'm a fan of that humor. The Tribbles cereal commercial disturbed me, but not for it being funny or silly, but just what to do with it. Well, now there it sits. We've got a whole little very short Treks box to put those things in. It's just Saturday Night Live, but produced by the home team. That's how I'm going to think about it. Speaking of the Vulcan logicians. And there's a vote for Oh, analysis. You can't even find other Trekkies to hang out with on normal premiere days of new episodes on Thursday. Celebrate a day when TOS premiere on NBC. Well, it's the birthplace of every. It's like in the United States, every country has their Independence Day when their country started. For the U.S., it's July 4th. I wasn't alive then, but I mark that as and it's not just the birthday to go out and happy dappy celebrate blindly. It's the day that I can also reflect on the things that I'm upset about. And then I don't think as my country tries to get better, here are the things that are still on the list. So I'm not even talking about having a blind get drunk birthday party. I'm talking about whatever you want to use it for. But I didn't have to be there alive at the time to mark it as the birthday of that or anything else. Anything else, we have anniversaries of all kinds of things, of historical events, of actual things. So actual people. So no, I'm sorry that you don't have more people to celebrate Star Trek in general with. Now that's the bigger issue. So hey, Dan, I hear what you're saying. There was a statement put out that no, they said that Jerry. See, for one thing, I can't believe that Jerry, who was back out the Star Trek strike again, this, aside from just normal everyday picketing, but he was there. He and Rebecca were both there when it was writers only and actors in sympathy solidarity in May, and then he was very much there again Friday again. No, they put out a statement and said they filmed that before the actors struck in July, right? So that's a couple months, 2 to 3 months. People thought that was crazy early, but no, that's nothing. These network advanced promo timelines, I'm telling you, not crazy at all. But the view I'm just saying, I feel like that's why I say if it wasn't for the coverage of the pickets, I don't think there would have been a lot of attention spent. I mean, by definition, actors, much less writers, weren't around to be able to take part. So yeah, that they did a good job scraping up what they could figure out to do. The live events, the showing on CBS, this one, it did feel wimpy compared to recent years. Even during the pandemic, you had 2, 3, 4, 5 virtual panels. The Strange New World pre-premiere panel is one of the most memorable things in my mind. With the top 3 cast right and Henry and Akiva, but also getting to meet the rest of the writers' room. And it really was revelation. I was watching it just the other day for some research, just to see where things were in September 2020 with a show that was another couple years away, much less who knew how long the pandemic would drag things out. So there you are. Oh, are you talking about the global page, Christoph? I'm sure people are chiming in to let you know. Hey, Adam, I think it's been a while, but good to see you. Well, again, I'm sorry, analysis. I'm not sure where home is, but the pandemic, what makes me mad is short memories. But if they didn't have a memory at all, if they didn't get it at all, that's just shitty. Sydney, hey, glad you could join us. Yay. No, I don't think Trials and Flashback, they came out during the 30th anniversary year, but they were not, nobody timed things to September 8th. For one thing, they had network slots. Well, Trials and Tribs was syndicated, so every city showed it when it was their night. And then Flashback was in the spring. No, I'm sorry. It was filmed in the spring. But they didn't time it to September 8th exactly. You didn't have 2 Star Trek special episodes on the 8th. So those anniversaries are still out there floating, and thankfully, yay. So it doesn't happen what you're describing here. So this doesn't occur. But no, they weren't aired together on the same day, and they weren't aired together on September 8th. Again, Trials and Tribs was DS9, it was syndicated, and it was a different night of the week. depending on your market. So there's something. Thank you, Dave, for slipping those in. SAG-AFTRA Foundation. Boom. Again, if you go to my page, Instagram, and my Trekland Facebook, there's a whole long list of the guild places and some other folks that are raising and dispersing funds to help not just actors and writers, but everybody in the industry affected by the work stoppage, basically. Well, this is the other thing too, that it was mainly an animation celebration. Although Jerry was hosting a Star Trek Day special that included the live action too. Mm-hmm. There you go. Green Envelope Grocery Aid. It's the weirdest name. It comes from a specific story, but it has its own unique name. Still hard to remember until you just do it. Yeah. This is a comment here, Scott. All right. Well, analysis. TAS is or is not canon. I was just in a special Saturday for the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of TAS. The reasons that TAS was ever not considered canon were more political and financial, not conceptual. And some of it was wrapped up in ego. But since I did it the other day, since CBS came out and sold nice restored Blu-rays and DVDs about 2006 or so, ever since then, it's TS is canon. And, in the beginning, there were problematical issues. One of the biggest ones got resolved because they were afraid to push Larry Niven and the Kazinti. But they've since resolved that by Larry Niven saying, I don't care. He's still with us. And so that's one big thing. And then a couple of the other canon things have all been finessed. No more nor less than anything else in aired Star Trek having canon quibbles that have to be smoothed out and retconned. So, wait. Lose your shorts, you're going to start a chain reaction with that phrase. What phrase? What phrase? I'm not sure. Oh, Scott, tell me what you really think. It was a lame, pointless, neoconservative message. Poor me, everybody's so sensitive. Oh, you mean the underlying message of it. Everyone's so sensitive. Maybe. But then if you're going to go there, you're going to get involved in this huge, bigger debate that people are having. And you know what? There are folks who are kind of pushing this that I have had my own issues with, like Bill Maher. But I do think we're in a very pendulum time here of, I think we can be socially sensitive and still poke fun at folks if it's not in a cruel, mean way. And I think there's a middle ground on that we need to find, or else we're going to be just as much as you can be too cruel. You could do horrible, stereotypical racist jokes to one side. But then if we get too precious the other way and can't just have a laugh with friends and then extend our friend circle out. But that goes both ways, and there's a lot of little circles involved with that, and some of it isn't even about humor. It's just about basic vocabulary and terminology. And right now, it doesn't feel like the best time of the world for anybody to have a rational discourse about this, because people are so tribal and campy, as much as it pains me to think about. But there were moments like this in the 60s and 70s. But you are definitely right. This is a huge topic of debate. And a lot of people, it wasn't about the style of humor and the canon issue at all. And I should have mentioned this. It was, we're having people, it was like the snowflake thing, and people being too precious and sensitive. Yeah. Fans have parodied Trek for years, at least I have. There are people I think could probably go back and look at the SNL parodies over the year, and they've been collected, haven't they? And find things that are borderline now, the same way we do anytime we look back and see. Hey, Stephen. Hey, thanks again for having me on Saturday the other day with that TAS 50th anniversary. I don't think we went down this rabbit hole though about the very short treks. Going to be curious to see what the subject of if this was an outlier or if that's a recurring theme through the other ones. Aaron Walke wrote one of these episodes, and if you saw this TAS episode, you'll see the special from Saturday that Drawn to Trek. So Aaron Harvey and Steven co-hosted from their podcast, which just relaunched. A 2-hour, actually went 2 and 15 minutes, had a nice panel discussion about the 50th anniversary of TAS, but we also had sidebars from the strike to the other animateds to Prodigy being done dirty, all that happening, Lower Decks, the interweaving with the live action shows, all of that. But this issue came up. And it'll be interesting to see if this is a criticism that arises with the other episodes. I can't believe Aaron Walke's very short trek is going to engender anything like that. So that's going to be something that'll be interesting to see once we get past the week to week of this. Okay, Dan, this is oh, really? Okay. Short treks was in your humor canon. So, okay. Okay. But you will take it as okay. There we go. The diversity of fandom never ceases to amaze me. So, okay, it's just an alternate universe. Okay, if that's the way you can build your frame for it, then there you go. Do you call the merger of the Pacific Princess and the Enterprise D, Star Trek: The Next Love Boat or whatever it was? Is that an alternate universe too, with Picard in his little captain shorts? Just kidding. Oh, but it's not on Paramount Plus for you guys across the Atlantic. Oh, really? Okay. May you have a vote for whatever they're smoking? Okay. Well, Christoph, that's one way of looking at it. They burned a week of having no new Trek. I know. Maybe it was seen as they needed a big splash. They needed a big attention getter. You would think the week of Star Trek Day would be that also, but it was the day before, and who knew how many. They were looking at it. I'm sure the original planning was thinking that things were going to be slim pickings on Star Trek Day, not realizing that the picket would happen and that would bring a lot more eyeballs to the whole topic of Star Trek all week long. So, I didn't mean to say it was the only one. I'm just saying that some of the big ones of recent years have been not so much stumbling as maybe on a little bit of a burnout right now. What did you have in mind, Analysis? Do you take this any further? Yeah, I think it was a new paradigm that people get parody. They're just used to seeing it again on Saturday Night Live. Sequential film sales. What I did understand was people going, where did the parody humor come from? And I do understand that. That was a guarded attack on oversensitivity. No very short second opinion pity. Oh, I hadn't even thought about it, Christoph. I'm just sitting. Fine, you want to double up on me again? Worse than Strange New Worlds? What exactly is it parodying? Having aliens screwhead aliens and butthead aliens and just random shit pop up. Like a Warner Brothers cartoon. I'm going to pull this hammer out of my pocket that I don't have because I'm Bugs Bunny. That's what I mean by parody. So maybe not strictly parody. Absurdism. Absurdism. That's maybe what I needed to say. Hey, Tigger. Well, I'm glad you could come and share. And I'm glad you shared your opinions, and I'm glad you're here again. Parodying is when parodies die. Somebody's going to call this a parody. A lot of people wish this would die. Hey, Gucciano 2. Well, I'm glad you did, but it's YouTube, so what can I say? Gooch, if that's who you think it is, if that's who I think it is, I'm glad if you've been with me before, but thanks for making it to a Tuesday. Thank you guys. Yeah. Well, Kyle, that could be. We will see. There's 5. I think this may be the gamut of tones, so that may be a generous way to put it. So we'll see if this was the outlier. If it is, it's interesting that they chose to lead with it. I don't know. Maybe it was a case of that which doesn't kill you make you stronger as a viewer. I don't know. Well, this is true, Dan. I totally agree. At times, Paramount has deemed it TAS non-canon, except yesteryear was always in its own little subspace bubble. Yesteryear has always existed in its own reality outside of anything going on with TAS at the time. Just to say. And counting the Jerry Taylor novels Mosaic and Pathways, as well as the Countdown comics, I think you mean as canon. So maybe we shouldn't be too quick just to take their word for what constitutes canon. Well, what is canon? Canon is, I can't believe we're doing this again. Canon is defined by the owners of the thing. Unless you want to say, well, F you, I'm going to do my, like famously, fandom, again, the Spock fan fiction writers, 99% female, said we're ignoring the 3rd season. Spock would never talk like that. So to women about his biology. So whether that was about talk about his biology or talk to a woman about his biology, if they were slash writers. But from day one, we've had people that took canon, their head canon, all of that stuff. We have a term for it now. Back in the old days, we just said, here's what that group would say, I don't accept the 3rd season. And that was the way they would put it. No, but for just canon exists to guard against chaos. Somebody has to put the more something happens, the more popular it gets, the longer it goes on, the harder it is to corral everything that's been done. So this is a topic we can go down, the long road and recount history again. But who's going to do canon if not the owner of the franchise? Aside from, yes, I know, all the fans who are going to do their headcanon. But that being said, now you've got 50 million different individual cases, or maybe you've got 50,000 or even 50 cases of individual canon points. There's got to be somebody that's the 0 point. And then if you want to go off, then you can. You got to have the one set of monopoly rules before you sit home and decide whether your get out of jail money goes in the pot. Right? Okay. But you should be quick to take their word for what's going to be canon, knowing 2 things. A, you can still do whatever the hell you want to do. And B, yes, through time, through corporate ownership changes, through all kinds of things, showrunner changes, especially in the first year of any new thing after a gap, there's going to be shocking assaults to your canon sensibility that then take 20 years to get re-smoothed. So yeah, that's been part of it since day one. Yeah, different writers. So you're talking about very short trek, Scott. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so I see votes for Picard season 3 DVDs. Not like I'm getting a kickback, but yay. Um, JR, yes, I have seen the Wizard of Oz silent movie is closer to the book. Okay, once again, you do know that there are like 20 Oz books. The Wizard of Oz was just the first one, and there are about, I don't know, 20 or there's a whole panoply of characters, and it's not all Dorothy and her three friends and Glinda the Good Witch. They're in there and they come back. But the second book is about what's the kid's name? He's a farmhand that's a neighbor of Dorothy's, and he and his horse are coming home, but there's an earthquake in Kansas, and they fall into a gap, and they get to Oz that way. But his horse can talk when he's in Oz. And anyway, you find out what happened to the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Tin Woodman is his full name. The Tin Woodman, the Scarecrow, and the Lion, and how they're all running the. You find out the Munchkins are only one of the four lands of Oz. Is in the middle of the island. There's four divisions. The people in each one are different color, and the Munchkins are the only ones. There's the Quadlings and the Winkies and the one I can never remember. And Oz is in the middle. The city of Oz, Emerald City, is in the middle of that. And then there's the like unreachable desert, but they do get breached at times. And there's anyway. And in the book of The Wizard of Oz, it's not a dream. It really happened, which is why there's 20 more books. Dorothy doesn't have 20 more dreams. It's a fantasy, and it really happens. The book Hollywoodized it up to where it was all a dream, all a dream. And the actors got to play dual roles all the way down the line. But the best thing about this, JR, is that the original silent movie Scarecrow is an actor named Fred Stone, who was Will Rogers' original best friend in New York, and they and their kids grew up together. And L. Frank Baum was a neighbor of Will Rogers out in Palisades in Rustic Canyon, and Will's oldest boy's bedroom has a full set of original print Oz books, and his best friend wrote the foreword in The Wizard of Oz and was a Scarecrow. I mean, it was just this. There's a huge Will Rogers, L. Frank Baum, Wizard of Oz connection. Nothing to do with Star Trek, but I just thought I'd throw that in as a bonus. Yay. Oh, Melanie, so I missed the setup for that. Hey, Dan, I intend to. I intentionally, I've had that for days, but I wanted to do the box open moment. I guess I could have pre-recorded it, but oh well. Yeah, JR, I love commentary tracks too, as long as they're not done by bored people. If they're interesting, it's the ones where they come on and they just phone it in and they say, "Oh yeah, I remember this day. My dog had to take my dog in for shots that day." If that's the kind of commentary you get, it's like, well, that doesn't add to anything about the product. Yeah. Well, Dan, I would have thought so. It would have put an end to all kinds of chatter and questions like this, but apparently somebody did. They put it in later press releases, but they didn't want to bring it down. I don't know. Yes, absolutely. And not only am I privileged that we've had, well, Dave last year for season 2, but had Dave and Liz and now Todd Marks. Jeff Mandel is this month's Portal 47 guest. So I've been after him for years and years and years, way before the Picard stuff. We're going to get, but it's not just having them on Portal. We're going to get Kit Stolen on sometime too, and others from the team. But being able to host Liz and Kit at Comic-Con and being able to see them get on stage for panels at Vegas and get some of this attention. Now, whether it translates into more gigs, but at least they'll have the summer of their big tour. Let's say, yeah, well, if it's something like Star Trek, you just don't want to put up with people's shenanigans. You don't put up with people's inconsistent shit. You want what you want, and we want what you have, including the fact when you buy, say, a movie on Prime and then it goes away. Well, I'm sorry, I bought that. Oh, look at your contract. Yeah. Have I got any word on the visual effects glitch that's been reported on whatever? You talking about the flyaway from the ship? No, I don't, if that's what you mean. I haven't dived into it enough all the way. Wait, what? Nemesis is not rated R, so why did you get ID'd at Walmart when you bought it in a DVD form years ago? You got me, but you know, people of Walmart, what can I say? I think you should go back and, well, you missed your window. You should have sued them right there. Folks coming in. I'm oh no, I hope this didn't become a thing. I intentionally restarted everything before we started. Oh, this is true. Maybe different edits. Maybe you got it. This is interesting. We hadn't had sync issues in ages, but I intentionally did restarts today. So we'll see. Need to find your way around it. See, Stephen, Twitter's becoming a ghost town. That's sad because most of my followers were on Twitter. But I'm going to say that Instagram is not Twitter, but Instagram is finally starting to become a Trek hangout. Part of that, I think, is driven by the strike and people posting strike pictures, creatives, writers, and actors. But I just haven't got ramped up I've got Blue Sky and Post, and I just can't get myself into going. Maybe if I went cold turkey, cut the cord with Twitter. I just hate to do that for now, unless, of course, Elon gets more and more evil, pals around with terrorists. Hello, Rose. Always good to see you joining us. Yay. Oh boy, sounds like hopefully, well, we got to the main part of the show. Sorry, everybody. And then it popped out. Okay, well, there you go. It's in and out. It's in and it's back. This is interesting. Because of streaming services, we are consumers. So if Paramount ever screws us over again, screw the FCC, you're calling the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yes, I had nothing to do with the lag. And of course, I'm probably behind the time anyway. What'd you say? You're never buying any Picard discs. But thanks anyway for asking your Into Darkness question. Oh, your darkness question in the P47 guest night with with Crescenzo, right? We have another Picard DP, John Joffin, that's up for coming aboard. Or maybe he's a strange new DP. Is that you, Gooch, is it? Well, there you go. Well, thank you, sir. Glad you could make it. This is what everyone's talking about, right? Fix the glitch in Last Generation. I just hope Terry is a bulldog. If he grabs hold and, like he would fix streaming glitches and not let them go because he felt very personal about it. Well, see, I had some comments on one of the YouTube. It didn't matter what the YouTube was. It was a TTL when I mentioned parrots. And they were basically like, shame on you for forwarding misinformation from incomplete data because parrot analytics are not reliable. And I'm like, well, we know the things, but so are the Nielsen digitals. They have their problems too. It's like, here are the caveats. Now you take it and run with it. But that's weak tea. We need the actual numbers that the streamers have, just the way we used to have the number. Well, they put it on Nielsen to make numbers. The broadcasters didn't have numbers because you couldn't meter TVs that way. It's a big mess. It's a big mess. Well, you're fighting the good fight, Christoph. I wonder if American Paramount Plus is still doing this. I haven't checked their ads lately to see if they're still doing it. Hey, Nathaniel, hi. Okay, on Shuttlepod Show, which I can't be responsible for Dom and Connor. I'm just saying. That's who we mean, right? Shuttlepod Show. Tim Russ said someone was filmed as Janeway between Bujold and Mulgrew. Do you know who that was? The only thing I can think he's talking about, Nathaniel, was that when Bujold went down, they went back and got 4, including Kate, got 4 people to read again. They went back and did callbacks from the original finalists in the casting pool. And that's why Kate will say her first one was a disaster. Her second one was boom, spot right on. And that's why they grabbed her and ran. And he might be talking about maybe 2 or 3 of the other people filmed in the last go round. That might be who he's talking about. Not physically, like in costume on the sets, bam, we're ready to go. There wasn't enough time. It was literally like from Thursday to Friday and Monday. So it's not like they had a nice little, let's go back and even rush it. So I'll ask Tim next time I see him what he meant by that. Sometimes things just kind of fly along if there's no... Shuttlepod Show's great. And Mark Cartier is doing a great job. And the guys are doing it too. But being able to find a new format and have a format like that is in a relaxed way, different vibe. And not just the staring at a Zoom screen. Of course, you got to have a little bit of investment and overhead. But sometimes I feel like they might need a little bit of a... When we veer off personal recollections, there might need to be, not a fact checker, not like it's a political speech, but I mean, just to keep things. But that's going to happen. When you're talking about things that happened 20, 30 years ago, you're talking about something from a year ago, and you're not going to be right on with it all the time. Anyway, that's my guess. That is my guess. Well, analysis, congratulations. Fans have been wanting Paramount to get their act together ever since 1970. So you're the latest in a long line to say that. JR, this is what happened, and this is what we talked about on Saturday. This is one thing I brought up. It's not just that the Prodigy fans were angry and upset. It suddenly hit home to the rest of Star Trek fandom. That if they could do that to Prodigy, they could do it to mine. Come up with some excuse. Not just to cancel the show, but to erase it from even being viewable. So exactly. That was like a wake-up call. The same way the whole essential workers thing was a wake-up call to people that never gave them the time of day. And in large part have gone back to it. But yes, exactly. And drove a lot of Trek fans over to watch it where they could. When they could. When that 2 weeks went by, that window of time, 10 days, whatever stupid shorts time it was. Stupid short. Well, you ask a good question, Dan. I've been wondering about this myself. The last we heard of this, it was going to be a podcast, a dramatized podcast. You're in the same camp too, huh? Moopsie Eeples Nibbler? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rose. Show some love. Give that a hit, a smash, a tap, and don't forget to give a review. Thank you. And the super chats as well. Yes, absolutely merchandise. I mean, Moops and Dice is there too, but it's not the same as merchandise. And what? My merchandise? Yeah. I need to I've got another new Cadet Alice to put up too. Well, see, though. Nathaniel, the history of Borg Salamander. way cooler than. See, you took it as a Borg. I thought they were toys because they had little screw holes in the bottom where you replace the batteries. Oh, but then they did get Borgified. Yeah. Right. I still like the fact that they had models toys, like they were Playmate salamanders with the battery hatch with screws. Yes, indeed. Okay, who's going to be the first to name their next pet Moopsy? Yep. Floopsy, Moopsy, and Cottontail. Exactly. Moopsy. Oh, Moopsy cosplay is a given. Probably here before the end of the year. What's the next con? I'm going to be at Starbase Indy. Will there be a Moopsy there? It's not a big con. I'm betting there'll be at least one Moopsy, even at a small con. Who would win a fight between Moopsy and Murph? Well, since Murph has no bones, Moopsy has no natural attack. So they should just be friends. Right? Oh, well, okay, Duplers. Duplers, Moopsy, and Murph, oh my. Now, if you're going to work Badgie in there, Badgie's got merch already. So there you go. Oh, Skin a Cat was commentary, as in you think it was subtextual, anti-snowflake. Ish. Dublers would be not profitable unless they sell it in packs of 2 that only do the undoubling. Is the STC set the same as the Renegades board? Oh, Board Dumb. Hi, Board Dumb. I think you're new with us here. Is the Continue set in Georgia the same as the Renegades Gods and Men? I got to think back to the aughts. Was that 05? You know what? It's Gods and Men. Boy, that's a good question. I should be able to figure this out. They're blurring together. The Continue sets were the original. Was it the Essex or the Exeter sets from Texas, the Johnson brothers from Texas. And I'm trying to think, it would have either been those sets or it would have been James's original sets up in Ticonderoga. No, wait. No, I'm sorry. No, Continuous was built fresh. The Exeter Johnson Brothers sets wound up being the ones in Oklahoma City that went to Arkansas, and I don't know what the status of those are. So that's a good question. Easily traceable, though. Oh, well, here you go. Dan, anyone tried looking for Star Trek on YouTube, then switching it to live? It's a great way to hang out with fellow Trekkies online. Oh, just do it when I'm not live. Then oh. Well, thank you for remembering me, Dan. Oh, okay, analysis. So I'm shocked, I tell you, that I can't believe you can't find some Trekkies around nearby. Mr. Trick, by not having it be Tillips instead of Billana. Yeah. The writers usually listen to the fans. It was many of the fans who advocated for TAS being considered canon. Well, again, it kind of started with in the fallow days, looking at the catalog of stuff to sell and wanting to put out in the first rush of DVDs, wanting to rush another DVD set out that was doable and quickly. Okay, Scott, I'm missing what you're going with. Why Star Trek, they had 3.5 minutes to give us, and that's what they picked. Just pointless. Are you still talking about Skin a Cat? Well, that's what the one guy did. We'll see. I have a feeling this is not going away. If that's what you're talking about, I have a feeling this is not going away. Oh, cool. On the other hand, yeah, this is what I mean, Dan. Jesse, the two Aarons. Who else was there? Rachel. Is that everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 7 of us. I think that's everybody. And yes, to hear about Aaron talk about his upcoming episode. Prodigy was done dirty to the point of being downright filthy. Okay. Oh, Ghostbusters has been okay, but there's like just 6 or 8 hours of Ghostbuster movies, right? The first 3, the women's, and then the latest one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6, 8, 10. There's 10 hours, 5 movies in Ghostbusters, and then there's toys and things. And there's the animated. Then there were the 2 competing animated shows, which didn't help. Kind of diluted down the brand on Saturday morning. But okay, but somehow, I mean, the Ghostbusters franchise is what it is. It's like, well, no, it's the James Bond franchise is a bigger franchise because there's been 47 movies, but still, as an ongoing presence in people's, it spikes with the movie release, and then other than that, it's not so much. Oh, good. Good to know. I was there trying not to say too much. Could I animate my second opinion on Skin a Cat? You guys. Scott and Kyle do an amazing job at doing the editing of the videos these days, but that's a whole different level there of animation. This happens, Jay-Z. This does happen. Sometimes Trekkies have a hard time getting out of their comfort zone. When you think about Star Trek was supposed to be the cutting sphere, or the cutting edge, tip of the spear, it's like, no, sometimes licensees and advertisers come in thinking they've got the really advanced crowd with Trek, and sometimes it's the most traditional, last technology adopting crowd there is out there. But they're nice. They're mostly nice, mostly harmless, mostly nice. Oh, the random shit appearing to me, like the Warner Brothers wacky pull out the sledgehammer, pull out the anvil stuff, pull out the mallet, just seems similar to what happened in Where No One's Gone Before. Okay. I that was the last thing that I thought of, but hey, okay. There wasn't quite the classic Warner Brothers flavor to Where No One Has Gone Before. But I see that. Okay. Okay, analysis. Then I'll go back to calling it continuity. The word origin doesn't matter. Somebody started saying it seemed to fit. I hear what you're saying. If that rankles you, then okay. Then we'll go back to calling it the Star Trek Bible. The Star Trek Bible. You know that writer's guides are often called Bibles. Then we'll go back to call it the continuity, the frame, the parameters, the whatever. What does my picket sign say? Oh, Kyle. Yeah. So in May, I didn't do a sign. I didn't have the brain power. My focus was totally on meeting writers finally, now that they're out from under the leash of the studios and their deadlines, and seeing who I like, making sure I met everybody I could. Well, I still didn't meet a lot of folks that I meant to or cross paths, but I did a ton, and our video is out, and that's awesome. And I knew this week, this time would not be the same. I think I said, somewhere that it's more like, well, I did earlier. It was more like, May was more like a class or a big family reunion, and Friday, round 2 on Star Trek Day, was more like a county fair. a little more waha waha, and you randomly saw people you didn't. A lot of folks I missed, but this time I decided that I would do a picket sign. So it says, pretty simple. I was a little on the spot. I didn't show up with one prepared. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to take all day with this. Just get something done and get on with it. Get on with it. There's people to see. There's pickets to pick. So that's it. I'll just set it there for now. Sooner Con will get over it. But thanks for asking, Kyle. Well, they're mass gauges. They're all just collections. It's like editors editing Shakespeare, but some are going to be, yeah. You can have, well, there's mine. I had my database that I did my way. So when I wanted something, I go to Memory Alpha and they don't have things recorded and done the same way that I want. I want visual cues versus, I want drafts versus writer's guides versus something from a novelization. You know, I want things so I can tell if it's canon in a vacuum, what the hierarchy of source material might be. I mean, it's not labeled, but Memory Beta is better about that from Crazy Book and Comic World and 50 years of, at least there I can see, I can compare if I'm after something. and yes, good Lord, people, we get hung up on these terms. It's just, I used to say, if it happened, write it down. That's canon to me. If it happened, write it down so I can find it later. That's all I'm saying. Take the minutes of the meeting. And of course, yes, minutes are notoriously incomplete if they're formal governmental minutes or even corporate minutes. They're famously misleading and or just a fraction of what actually happened. And when it comes to Star Trek, you need everything. You need the color of that planet. You need the, yeah, whatever. Well, there are style guides. The point is here, if a writer chooses to incorporate something from TAS in a film episode, then an element of TAS has now been made canon. Oh, Scott. Maybe it's been reinforced, but if it's on film and TAS, it's there to play with. But no, there's not. It's just, if it's on screen, it's canon. Now, you find two things that whatever, then you go with the flow. You go with the evolution. Oh, my God, do I have to do a whole canon? Do I have to do a 1 hour canon special here about this stuff? I mean, everybody acts like they just woke up yesterday and thought this. What were we doing in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s? You had to find a sane way to deal with this stuff. Of course, back then, we thought there were only 10 people in the world that cared, and we were in our own little, monastic cluster then. Now it's just a mass cluster. Anyway, because sure, yeah, it's inevitable things. Sometimes it's intentional, but sometimes it's just the front end of the back. There's a cleavage in Next Generation between second and third season. It was Michael era and then before Michael, and there was such a memory. It was a total memory drop there. You had Rick and, and the production side people, but there was no carryover in the writer's room at all. And some things got through that the later years totally forgot were there, even with some of us doing our first encyclopedias and concordances before Memory Alpha, before the Okuda's Encyclopedia. No, Paramount basically says if it's on screen, it's canon. And then then when we've had inconsistencies or when things have evolved, when a better idea came along or something proved problematic, you go with what came later, not what came earlier. Now, if you get clever, if you want to come up with the Klingon augment virus, then go to it. If you want to have Northern and Southern Romulans, go to it. If you want to have 50-foot Spock hanging in a Zebelian collector's plane, ship. So, yeah. No, it's a parody. It's a parody. It's just like a Saturday Night Live sketch made by the home team. But Michael, people called Kirk Captain Kirk occasionally, even when it was his crew. They need to get his. I mean, there are moments, depending on context, when people would say Captain Kirk. I can hear Sulu just in his chair to the captain's chair say Captain Kirk, blah blah blah. I can hear that. Kind of, sorta. And that's what the thing with TAS was. TAS had problematical bits, and they just said, "Oh well, we're not going to mess with it." I mean, yeah, but somebody's got to be in charge. Somebody has to hold the reins of the thing, even if at times the horses go off in different directions. Somebody's got to be in the driver's seat. Oh, wow. Hi, Moo. No, no, no. Toto's not going to be put to sleep. She's got him under her arm. Oh, no, Miss Gooch. The house fell on Miss Gooch. In my canon, in my head canon, Miss Gooch died in the tornado or the cyclone. Oh, no, that's my movie adapted Wizard of Oz headcanon. Miss Gooch died in the tornado. Toto is safe. Any plans what I will be up to after Discovery Season 5? Taking a breath? I have a documentary to finally get finished. Are you kidding? Come on, Dan. This is true. Gene finally had his reckoning. When he signed on to Next Generation, agreed to do it, he had his reckoning, and then he tricked studio execs. It's a lot the way Data inadvertently created Moriarty. Kind of the same slip of semantics happened when Gene got the studio to not just, account for the original series, but account for all Star Trek. And so, yes, that included movies, that included that. But that was 1987, and there was still wibbly wobbly around things for then. Well, JR, you're welcome. But somehow how you got from Will Rogers to Don Knotts, I don't know. But okay, it's all good. It's all good. Yes. Oh, there's a whole history of the word canon. Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. It's hot. It's summertime. Was that? I don't think that was ever a drinking game thing. Was that a drinking game? Curse words? The most pristine worlds, curse words. Oh, animated shows are fine, but you're waiting for Discovery. There you go. I mean, to each your own, sure. Oh, well, thank you for follow up, and thank you for your loyalty, Gooch. Cool. Okay, so the stunt casting worked, huh? You watched it for Doug. Okay, good deal. It's still there, you know. Oh, it's a lot of fun. It's filling a niche that hasn't been filled. They've grown with the guest element. They've grown, and having the set and all that. This is what I'm saying, Dan, but I'm just saying I think maybe in his mind, the way that came out, I think he's thinking of who did they read, not who actually was cast and went on a set and was filmed as if they had the part. Oh. Right. The Star Trek Strike Snack Squad. Yes. '50th anniversary of yesteryear. Yes, the TAS episode that always existed in its own little warp bubble. Yeah. Yeah, she just got, it was like, why keep paying this woman? We'll just do these episodes now. It wasn't anti-feminist and it wasn't anti-Dorothy. It was just Filmation had their machine and Star Trek was almost too big for the machine. And we've done episodes on Trek Files, some with Dorothy talking about that. They expected to make a Star Trek and they were expecting to make their little dinky Saturday morning show, and that collided in many ways. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Gooch. You happen to be here today. So there you go. I was thinking of Gods and Men, that timing had to be in Ticonderoga. Thank you. Oh, were you, that was only in Thai? You weren't down in LA, were you, when they shot the bits down here? The only connection I have with Of Gods and Men was when they had, StarTrek.com went over to shoot and interview people. And it was at that old Disney Imagineers house. It's the stuff where they shot the things with Nichelle and Tim as Tuvok, and they had the circle of people in a Vulcan class or something. I've forgotten it. Anyway. Oh, Of Gods and Men have a funding campaign for How It's Made film just began a few days ago. Okay. Oh, somebody just mentioned that in passing. Well, there's sliding automatic doors and there's fast doors. Grocery stores had sliding automatic doors before that. Okay. What did we start? We started, okay, well, I'm over my hour, my new hour. Okay. Well, it was the 1M13 creature. Salt Vampire sounds very shorthandy and nicknamey. So I get that. Who says that it's canon just because Boimler or Mariner yelp it out? Was it on a screen somewhere? Vampire? What it means is it's the canon of popularly used nicknames now. It's canon as a nickname used by some crew. It doesn't prove anything. And thus canon is whatever makes you smile. It's dead. This is like Mirror Universe and Kelvin Universe stuff. It's canon because it exists in that universe. So if Boimler and Mariner said M113, the Salt Vampire, that means it's among the slang used in that era. It's not like it's the official biology textbook, the Latin genus and species name for it. What's the canon of the meaning of canon? Well, you saw some folks talking about it. It does have that. Boom. Oops. Do I think they will do a mass gun violence episode? Maybe. I don't know. I barely know 3 of the people in the writer's room, I think. I mean, I know 3. Well, 2 writers and 1 staff. We'll see. That would be something. I know the analogy, it'd be a little on the nose, maybe, but depending on how they play it. No. The SAG-AFTRA strike is not blocking completion of the Voyager documentary. It's just taking time, and there's no driving force behind it like Adam Nimoy or Ira Bear for DS9. It's just, we were just talking about this the other day. Watch the Shuttle Pod Show's hour with Lolita as guest, and they talk about the Voyager documentary at one point. And the con of, well, it's the CON of Wrath. No. They sure could, Christoph. That's an excellent idea. I'm going to get right on that. Hey, Zahir, you're a little late, slow. We're just about to sign off, but there you go. Now what? When you were in high school, you were accused of plotting one, by the way, which you weren't. Plotting a screenplay? I missed the setup for this. There you go. Okay, everybody. Boom. I think that's going to do it for us today. I want to thank everybody for being here another Tuesday. Hey, once again, if you on your way out the door, if you enjoyed the day, it's fine. You can super chat it. You don't have to be a Patreon. You don't have to be Patreon at all if you want to, but it's always appreciated. If something today made you stop, think, made you go look up something, just made you look at some part of Star Trek or the passing chaos circus in a different way, that would be my goal for today. And appreciate if you hit the super chat. But I also appreciate, for sure, all of our Patreon folk. There they are. If you want to get to me and help out via Patreon, that is over here every month, $5 or $10, or you could throw in whatever you'd like. A shout out here every week and access to earlier years of Portal 47's backstage, because that's what Portal is all about. It's your insider's guide to backstage Trek, right? It's all the starships and the sound stages that you ever wanted to know more about. And we've had a great run this year now that some of the recent show folks have been liberated enough to be able to talk. If you really want to have your own personal experience, get yourself to LA. And before you do, we will set up your own just custom, unique away mission. Wherever you want to go 4 times in one day, the chauffeuring and the prop and the cosplay wrangling are on me, treklandtreks.com. Check it out, okay? And of course, we're not putting out new ones right now. It's the hiatus season break, but there's 10 seasons of the Trek Files up. I'll mention it every week. Of course, here on my channel, there is Second Opinion. This last week's Second Opinion is up for the twofer. It was a double whammy, but this week we'll have a little bit more time to talk about the one episode that's coming this week for Lower Decks. So no, we're not forgetting animation at all. You can also go back and look back through, as you're watching your Picard DVD, you can go back and catch all of the Picard Second Opinions too, and even further back. That's up. Of course, Cadet Alice is there. We'll have a new one coming in the next few days. Everything on my channel is there. Like it and subscribe it, please, if you would. There you go. Boom. Of course, I'm on Twitter for now. It's gonna be interesting to see what the world does, if this actually really does migrate. If the owner keeps Xing himself out of a business, we'll see what's going on. But Instagram and YouTube, Larry's Trekland, that's a great place. Still, I'm still here on Facebook. It has its point. Portal47.net though is a great place to go if you want to, have a backstage pass all year long. Enjoy this applied to more hardcore nuts and bolts of the business and the backstage of Star Trek. We'd love to have you. A lot of the Portales are on today. Tomorrow is our Euro and midday Ask Dr. Trek roundtable. It's our roundtable we have twice a month. Everybody gets to bring up what they want to talk about or ask me whatever they want to do. And it's awesome. And it's great for me, especially with the Europeans, to hear what the buzz is out there and hear what's going on. That's going to do it for us, though, today. Thank you all for staying with us live. Please share when you can, especially the YouTube channel. Really appreciate it. Shout outs to everybody who is with us for the first time or those circling back today. That's awesome. The TeePublic store is up too. It's September. Nothing is really big on the calendar coming up now. I'm going to be at Indy, Starbase Indy, Thanksgiving post weekend. Not Thursday, but Starbase Indy happens Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Same as old school Lost Con here, the LitCon in LA. There's more than one convention happening on that long Thanksgiving weekend after you're able to have turkey with the family on Thursday. But that's the next thing on the big calendar. Other than that, gang, please, as you go about your trekking, enjoying Lower Decks, enjoying your Picard DVD, whatever you're doing, stay healthy, my friends. Do all the things, okay? Stay woke, check your sources, watch out for the idiocy out there. And yeah, truck well.